Okay, let's start by talking about creating friction. When it comes to friction, the first thing to consider is the state of your wrist. So, do you think friction comes from the wrist, the forearm, or the fingers? If you struggle to loop backspin balls, pay close attention. The answer is your fingers. So, why do many players struggle with creating good friction? It's because your grip is too tight, which makes your entire arm and wrist tense. When you're tense like that, it directly results in poor friction. So, why is it that a tight grip prevents you from brushing the ball effectively? Because the racket and your arm move as one rigid unit, the motion depends entirely on your arm's swing speed. With a tight wrist, it's locked in place and can't move independently from your forearm. What you need is a moment of sharp, sudden friction as the racket contacts the ball. It's the acceleration of your racket through the ball at the point of contact that generates maximum friction. But if you're tense, that crucial moment of contact is slow. There's no acceleration, no suddenness, no explosive snap. Without that sudden acceleration, a slow motion means you're just relying on luck. Against a no-spin ball, it might go over. But against backspin, it will go straight into the net. You can't overcome it with brute force. The principle is simple: you fail to generate enough of your own spin to lift the ball. This is why you're unable to generate powerful friction. So, the crucial point is this: you must first master the mechanics of your wrist. First, your wrist must be relaxed. Just hold the racket loosely, don't grip it too tightly. Second, your wrist must be in the correct position to create friction. Relax and let your wrist drop slightly. This is the ready position for friction. If your wrist is cocked upwards, it's a rigid state, and you won't be able to brush the ball. The reason many players make contact on the bottom half of the racket is because their wrist is cocked upwards too rigidly. Penhold players loop well because they rarely cock their wrist up. They can only drop it. So, your wrist must be relaxed. Relaxation is extremely important in table tennis. To generate power and friction, you must learn to be relaxed. To perfect any technique, first find the correct stroke path. For example, if your coach tells you to drop down and then rotate, you should first practice that motion in a relaxed state. Even with a very spinny ball, if your stroke path is correct, you can loop it. Even if I serve with heavy spin, as long as you relax your wrist and execute the motion correctly, you can loop the ball. The biggest mistake is tensing up and trying to force the shot. The more you force it, the less likely you are to succeed. In professional training camps, flexibility is one of the most practiced elements. For example, we do drills rotating the hips left and right to train hip flexibility. Good flexibility allows your body to guide your arm through continuous shots without losing balance. Even professional players train their body's flexibility to handle the ball using their core and center of gravity. So, for amateur players, you should first relax, and then focus your power at the moment of contact. In table tennis, the preparation phase should be relaxed, with power applied only upon contact with the ball. You must meet this condition of relax then tense to create good friction. This applies to all techniques. Second, penhold players usually do this well, but shakehand players need to pay more attention to their wrist angle. Your wrist angle should change based on the incoming ball. For a topspin loop, the racket head points sideways. For a backspin loop, it points down. Your racket angle must be adaptable. Many amateurs keep their racket face pointing upwards at all times. With that racket angle, you might be able to lift a topspin ball, but even if you lift a backspin ball, the shot will have no quality. A shot like that has no spin. No matter how much power you use, it remains a dead ball. Looping is an offensive technique with inherent risks. If your attack has no threat, the risk-reward is not worth it. Now, for the second point on friction, I want to introduce a concept I call engaging the ball firmly as you brush. Let me demonstrate what a loop without proper engagement looks like. This is a very common problem. To put it simply, your current motion is just brushing upwards. The correct motion is to drive forward into the ball. If your motion doesn't drive forward into the ball, just brushing it is useless. Brushing is not a stationary action. It must be combined with a forward-moving forearm. Is it possible to play table tennis without using your forearm? Of course not. The motion must incorporate the forearm. This is most obvious in the backhand loop, where players tend to only lift up, afraid to drive forward. This creates a vicious cycle. The more it hits the net, the more you lift up, and the more you lift, the more it hits the net. Simply trying to brush the ball at the 4 o'clock position will lead to problems. You must use your forearm to find the ball. As your forearm moves forward to meet it, your wrist snaps at the moment of contact. This is how you properly engage the ball. At the contact point, your wrist can't just be brushing in place. That's not enough. The correct motion is for your hand and racket to actively seek the ball with forward momentum. Let's demonstrate, with the ball at the contact point. My forearm first moves forward to find it. As it moves forward, my wrist remains stable. At the moment of contact, the forearm continues to drive forward as the wrist snaps and brushes the ball. The first common mistake is completing your wrist snap before you even make contact with the ball. This means that at the actual moment of contact, the tip of your racket is pointing up or sideways, instead of remaining pointed downwards. In my correct stroke, the racket tip stays down. The second mistake is brushing in place without any forward drive, or lifting the forearm up too early. This lacks forward power and is also incorrect. You must drive into the ball. Engage it firmly, then brush. As your forearm moves forward, maintain that momentum through contact, and use your fingers to execute a quick wrist snap. This is how you get power. Let me demonstrate the feeling of driving into the ball. This is how you hit a power loop. Many amateur players are consistent, but their loops are often slow and lack spin. That kind of shot has no spin and no speed. It poses no threat. If your attack has no quality, you're just taking a risk for no reward. It's better to let your opponent attack first and look for a counter-looping opportunity. The purpose of your loop is to win the point, not just to turn a backspin ball into a topspin ball. So remember, don't just brush in place. You must drive forward, engage the ball, brush with your fingers, and follow through. This is crucial. Do this, and you can hit a high-quality power loop. Just focus on mastering the engage then brush technique. Even for a high, spinny loop against heavy backspin, You're not just brushing upwards. You're still driving forward and up. The difference is the trajectory. For a high loop, you engage forward briefly for safety, then direct your energy more upwards. For a power loop, you drive forward much more. The follow-through path is adaptable. It doesn't always have to finish in front of you. Finishing higher up is also a valid follow-through. If the ball is very spinny, drive forward and up. If it's not so spinny, drive more forward and then follow through. In essence, this principle is the same for both penhold and shakehand grips. Most principles are universal. I will point out when they differ.